On today's episode of Let's Grow Together, I talk with Kevin Laylor, and it is such a cool conversation that we dive into for his unique journey of getting started in entrepreneurship and how, what it really takes to evolve into where he is today in getting started and what it takes to get those first steps to build up the confidence to be the best version of yourself and how to expand yourself and not have to change yourself. We get into more of that, so I'm not going to go into it too much more. So let's just dive in, shall we? But first, the intro. Welcome to Let's Grow Together. My name is Nick Monotadovus, motivational speaker and digital marketing strategist. And this podcast is all about helping you grow both in life and business. Let's dive in. We are back, and I'm super excited to bring on this next guest. We're part of an awesome community together, and friends on social media, and I just love the content that he continuously shares. And I knew that he would be able to bring some awesome value to you guys in listening. So, Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, real quick, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
So my name is Kevin Laylor. I am a life coach, and a little bit of background on myself is basically someone who is in the world of the 9 to 5, and basically I heard the whispers that actually became like screams to kind of take a leap of faith and kind of jump out on my own though. So when an opportunity came about in between positions, instead of going to a new role, I decided to take that leap of faith and see what the world of entrepreneurship would look like. And in a couple of months, it will be 4 years. And it's been one of the most exciting, scary, yet rewarding paths of self growth. I would say entrepreneurship is just one of those roads of, if you want to grow in personal development really fast in one area of life, jump into entrepreneurship, be your own boss, and just see how fast that you need to grow those. So that's what makes me passionate about being a life coach myself, knowing that there's so many mental hurdles to overcome to actually achieve a life of freedom. So that is who I am, and that is what I do. I support other life coaches who are looking to become visible and who may not have enough belief in themselves yet, because I believe everyone has potential. And I love to just pour into others to see people as I see them so that they can put themselves out there and make an impact while we have our time here on this earth.
Amazing. Extremely well said. The one thing I had to touch on, you mentioned like this feeling of wanting to do something on your own. I'd love to hear more about kind of like how that came up, where this like entrepreneur step in between, job to the next job came up.
Yeah, so I've always had an interest in kind of being able to take care of myself outside of a paycheck. And I used to be a contractor for the government at one point in time. And long time ago, while in between jobs, I started asking myself question, well, since I don't have a gig right now, how do I make money? So I just started looking online a long time ago, and I saw people who was selling things on eBay. And I was just like, I think I can do that. So I can remember my very first purchase was a $600 laptop, which I on eBay was showing for selling for $950. And I was just like, okay, but can I do that? Like, will people buy it from me for that type of money? So I bought the laptop and luckily I sold it for, I think, like $900. And that was the beginnings of entrepreneurship for me in terms of controlling where my money came from my own hands outside of having a job. And after a decade of doing that type of work, I came to a place where I've always enjoyed personal development. I didn't know it myself. And now it's just like realizing that I can actually help people from a mental standpoint, and knowing that I can build communities, talk to like-minded people. So that became the next step in the journey of, making my own money, based on what I care about. Similar to with eBay, what I really enjoyed about eBay was, again, it was just the fact that I could make my own money just applying some principles based on what others were showing, and I didn't have to go back to a job. But that just kind of took a life of its own in terms of what else could be done to make money on my own without working a 9 to 5, and kind of just blew up from that point.
Amazing. Yeah, it's such an interesting concept, like something like that from eBay, where I mean, you're basically just like flipping a computer and making money, which is
Hmm.
incredible. It just shows how many opportunities are out there in so many different ways for you to be able to earn an income and quit that 9 to 5 or substitute when you're create a life of your own where you get that freedom because that is the main goal of entrepreneurship for most people is getting that freedom back. And so when you were taking this leap and uncovering your own entrepreneurial journey, how what were some of the things that you needed to overcome in order to get started and really get on this, making it full time?
Yeah. So some of the things I had to overcome when it came to finally taking that leap of no longer working in the 9 to 5 world and kind of seeing what it looks like on my own. There was a lot of questions because when you work the 9 to 5 world, there is such a huge safety net in terms of stable benefits, stable paycheck. You kind of know the people that you're working with, whether they're, in and out in terms of people changing jobs or things like that. Like it becomes a routine that it becomes just stable in terms of what you're working towards, and that there's a ladder you can climb. Yet with entrepreneurship, there's just so many unknowns, despite the fact that people will go out there and tell you that, you can make your own money, but even making your own money, there's so many things in terms of like recreating your own personal safety net, relying on yourself. So some of the things I had to go through was first, knowing that people would want to buy from me. There's that people would value what I have to offer, and that thinking, that journey came down to me believing in myself, though. So some people can easily do that and put it out and figure it out. Others, it just takes a longer road. And I can remember even Tony Robbins talking about when he started and put himself out there and went through his ups and downs. Tony Robbins, he can fill a room up to, I think his latest event, 30,000 people virtually. But at one point in time, he couldn't get a single person to come to his event of his, though. So I think the biggest journey in being your own boss is, will people buy what I have to offer? Because it's one thing to sell something like an iPhone or a product. Someone's already done the work to validate that people want that product, the iPhone. Steve Jobs has validated the market that people will buy the iPhone no matter what, Samsung, whatever the product is. But when it's your personal name, it's a different game that when you're the product, it brings up all those thinkings of self-worth, self-esteem, despite the money that can be made. You're going to face those questions about what you actually get to offer other people, and the overthinking that can come with that in terms of what you offer outside of like the what you offer in a job versus what you offer to the world. It is completely different. So those are the things I had to kind of get over to come to a point that I do have something to offer. I do have a space out there, and I had to carve that out internally for myself to even want to be in a position that allowed us to even have this conversation right now.
Right? It is. It's incredible to see the different pieces that start, and the big thing is just getting started. You talked about the story with Tony Robbins. People don't hear that story often. I follow Tony Robbins. I've never heard that story of him just nobody showing up and struggling to get people. I know he started at a really young age too, but at the same time, it just goes to show you even the greatest people had to start somewhere. They had to be willing to put themselves out there and kind of figure it out. Now, you mentioned that some people have it easier than others in stepping out. What was your journey like? Like, did you kind of struggle a little bit to take that step, or were you quick? Like, what were some of the things that you were going through when you're putting yourself out there and putting your offers out there to the world?
Well, one of the biggest things is just, I guess, asking people for money in terms of what I do, though, because I know I'm not the only one out there in terms of like charging people for what I do. It's really valuing that service for others, like people will actually pay that though. So that took some time. That took some confidence building on my own in terms of just testing the waters though. So it wasn't definitely out the gates though, but now, there's no issue in terms of putting a price tag out there and either getting a yes or a no. Before, I think there was meaning that I put behind it in terms of if someone said no, that would only amplify the lack of confidence in terms of already questioning my value in the beginning stage. So to hear no in the beginning only can will amplify my own, lack of confidence versus now to hear no. It is not a meeting of there's something wrong with what I offer. It simply just means that the person may not be ready for what I have to offer, and that is okay. So definitely, it wasn't quick out the gates, but I'm motivated differently. Some people are motivated by the money, and they'll, I would say, sacrifice a little bit of themselves, they get that money versus me. The way I make my money matters. I want to be able to make, 100 or 1,000 or whatever that money looks like and feel good with it versus make tens of thousands of dollars, but still feel inadequate with that money. Though, so I recently had a client where I said that, you know, you can reach making $1 million, but I'd rather you make $100,000 with 100% of you intact versus making $1 million and only half of you there with that money, meaning that money has a weight to it. It's like the 9 to 5 world. You can make the money though, but something's missing. So even making money, but knowing that a part of you is missing, that matters to me though. So I want to make my money in alignment to who I am versus just making money regardless.
Yeah, and I love that. I think it's super important because if you're going after the money and the next thing you got it and you're not happy with how you got it, it's just going to eat away at you in a way that's
Mhm.
um not worth the pain. It's not worth the pain of that money that you're going to have versus really embodying who you are, going all in on that and being committed. It's
Mhm.
going to be so much more impactful in your own self-worth when you know that without a shadow of a doubt that you did it from your own self, your internal being, to offer that. I love that. How you make money matters. Like, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and I would say that it's definitely tied to identity because it's to make $1 million, being something that you're not is going to be very hard to unravel to coming back around to make money as who you naturally are. So that's what matters most to me. And this is why, like, people can make a lot of money, have status, but if it's not attached to who you truly are, you can only fake that persona for so long before your mentality realizes, like, hey, how long are we going to continue to lie and to maintain the money, the status, the facade? Like your heart starts to just break, and you just have to become this person detach from yourself to maintain the status quo. And eventually, I think, that takes a toll mentally, internally, that I think a lot of people don't talk about, versus like to feel so good about what you offer and making money that way that you don't have to hide, you don't have to stress, you don't have to pretend to be anything else. Like the freedom, yeah, that is so much better, and it's the reason why we do what we do anyway as entrepreneurs, is ultimately freedom. And though, because if it was just the money, we can go work a 9 to 5, or if anything, you can go out and sell drugs, right? And everything. Like there's so many ways to make money, as was said earlier, ethically or unethically, though. But if it's not attached to freedom of who you get to be, it's not really worth it.
Yes, I love that you touched on that. You mentioned identity and how important that is. So, through your journey, have you had to kind of shift your identity to become the person you are today?
I would say I'd have my shift in my identity is probably being not too much of a shift though, but knowing that I could put myself out there and value my own services though. So before, an employer would pay for what I had to offer though, but that was for a list of tasks that could be done. Now it's just like it's my full self in terms of like whatever personality quirks or anything that comes with me, to what's being offered out there though. So I wouldn't say I've had to shift my identity where I've had to grow into like my fullness to be offered. So it's the difference of not shifting your identity, but actually expanding my identity. Before, it's a box. We shrink to get the thing to get the job done. We shrink to fit in with the circle. So, but with freedom, it's about expansion though. So it's actually expanding myself and knowing that that fullness of who I am, can get me what I want versus, okay, you know, 25% of me got the job. 25% of me got into the circle. 25% of me did this. But now I want freedom of 100% of me. I no longer want to be in the box. I want to be fully me, freedom. Entrepreneurship is one of those opportunities to do that. So actually, I had to expand and learn acceptance of my full expansion and knowing that that can get me what I want as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that's super powerful because a lot of times we feel that we need to make a change or we need to become someone else. But with this and what you're saying is we have everything that we need. It's just a matter of expanding what's already there. You don't
Mhm.
have to shift your identity, you don't have to change yourself. You are fully capable of getting everything that you want exactly how you are as you accept more of yourself and embrace more of yourself.
Yes, yes. So that expansion is definitely a lot of inner work, but it is worth inner work knowing that as you expand and as you put yourself out there and as you find opportunities of people that you serve, that is ultimately the freedom that I think we are all looking for when we choose entrepreneurship or any profession that we want to enjoy with our time of what we are doing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Being able to, step into that, expanding yourself. Now, for what would be some things that you would tell someone to help them to expand into their better self to get that freedom?
One, I would start to look at first and foremost, what do you enjoy? What are the things you actually enjoy? Just, from a kid up till now, just start looking at these things though, because I think we have learned to not look at things because that is what allows us to be accepted in certain circles or how we put ourselves out there though. So it's just like, what do you enjoy that maybe that you've kind of kept tampered down or things of that nature? So for me as a life coach, I know it's a part of what I've enjoyed previously, but put in a different light because I enjoy photography. And I used to wonder what was the transition of photography and life coach. And I now understand what the similarities are. As a photographer, I love capturing people at their best. So it's all about taking that shot and everything, seeing them in a certain way that they didn't see themselves, and then showing them the picture on the camera. It's like, yeah, that's you. It's the same thing with life coaching in terms of like speaking into them possibilities of how they can see themselves, and when they can actually see themselves based on the way they are speaking in a new way, it's like, yeah, that's you. Though, so that expansion comes in like, all right, so I enjoy photography, but why is it that I enjoy that? Because I love seeing people at their best. Okay, what are ways that I can help people see themselves at their best? So understanding what you enjoy, and then just looking for ways of how you get to expand on that is definitely a great way in terms of that expansion. And two is just judgment. No judgment. Like if you're questioning, it's like, nah, or anything like that. Any kind of judgment is going to hamper that process, though. So or comparison. So less judgment, less comparison, appreciation for what you enjoy. That right there, let's keep it simple. Those three things: less judgment, about what you actually enjoy, less comparison of what other people are doing to make it thinking that if I'm not like them, I can't have what I want, and more appreciation about what you enjoy and finding those areas that you can apply what you enjoy. When you put those three pieces together, you start to realize it's like, oh, I actually can live a life the way that I want to live it. Though, so like, there's no more joy to me like seeing people, have this aha moment, how powerful they are. No difference from someone looking at the camera and be like, that's me. Like, yeah, that's you. Like, it's the same powerful moment though. So take a look at what you enjoy and have less judgment and less comparison about what you enjoy and what other people are doing, and know that who you are with acceptance can give you what you want.
That's so cool. I love the analogy of how taking photos of someone and showing them the best version of themselves associates with what you're doing from the life coaching standpoint. Because you don't hear those, like, what does photography have to do with life coaching? But here you are tying it together, your passion, these two things together, in such a beautiful way. I mean, that's so cool.
Yeah, and it definitely took a lot of time to figure it out though. So it wasn't an overnight process to figure out that link between photography. But when you find something you enjoy, like myself, life coaching, so whatever it is that someone enjoys, there is a link in terms of what you've enjoyed previously and maybe to younger ages up to now. If you do the work and dig, like, why do I enjoy that? What does that offer me? Eventually, you probably will find a trend of this is what I enjoy. And then you start looking for where can I find opportunities to give me what I enjoy? Because when we find, what is it? There's a term by Aristotle: pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. So when you find pleasure in the job, it puts perfection in the work, though. So if I enjoyed seeing people at their best in photography, bringing that same passion to life coaching, then I am going to do my best with life coaching. That is probably just going to attract people to me. It's just like, this man cares about what he does, or I love how he shows up for people, though. That's going to bring people to me, and that's going to bring people to other people in terms of the passion for their craft. And I think everyone can probably agree with this though. When we see people putting their craft out there, we can see how much they enjoy what they do. We can see how much they care about like particulars about their craft. And then we're in awe, like, wow, like Steve Jobs and, Apple products, his passion for how Apple needed to be, or Elon Musk in terms of like just knowing that he could put out what he could put out in terms of Tesla, SpaceX, things of that nature. You see his passion, and we see his results with that passion that he keeps going regardless of failures, regardless of Steve Jobs' failures. That passion draws people in, on top of curiosity for the product. It's the same thing, So when we find that the good in terms of what we enjoy and what we want to do, and we put that out with less judgment and less comparison, eventually people gravitate into our orbit of like, what are you offering? Why are you so happy with what you do? I'm curious to hear more. So it's definitely a thing there.
Amazing. Yeah. And I love that quote from Aristotle as well. It's such a powerful tool, and I love that you were explaining kind of the process in really, like, it takes time to figure things out. It wasn't like all of a sudden, boom, you got all the pieces. Oh, you've got it all figured out. You're looking at the things that you enjoy. You're analyzing it. You're figuring out what are the pieces. You're trying different things and seeing how that's working. You're seeing all of these different steps to attempting, and that's just it, right? You tried different things, you put something out there, and then you're testing the waters, as you said earlier, to figure out what's going to be best suited, both for your success but also for your internal drive and fulfillment of what you want.
Yeah. And that right there, it simply is a process in terms of you cannot think your way through this. You have to go through the experience of the ups and downs. And normally it is in those gaps in terms of understanding what feels good and what doesn't feels good though. You're not going to experience that in terms of like thinking about it. You have to take that step and see what it actually feels like, because your body's going to be able to tell you in terms of like, this feels good, this doesn't feel good, so that you can make a choice. Not that we can always trust our feelings 100%. However, it is a part of that measurement, though, in terms of once you think about something and once you feel something, you have data now to kind of make a choice of where to go. That only happens with action. So action doesn't happen just with thought. It happens with actually experiencing, you know, going through something and then using that data and be like, do I like that? Do I not like that? Let me try something else though. And ultimately, at the end of the day, and I think it was mentioned earlier, it is all about just starting to figure it out though, because the destination that we all want to go to can never be reached if we never leave the starting point of where we're at today.
Perfectly said. Yeah. We get really caught up in what it is that we want, and this destination of, six figures or $1 million, or this amazing happy life. But the reality is like, you have the choice right now to start taking the steps. You have the choice right now to be happy in your own life, and those things will start to come to you. But it starts with being willing to make a change, take a step in the right direction. Like, even to circle back, you just giving that eBay thing a try. At that
Yeah.
point, you invested $600. That's no small investment. You were like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to invest $600 and see what goes from here, and see if I can do this. Because that $600 wasn't an investment in the computer. It was an investment in yourself, and believing that you could sell it for more than $600.
Yep. Yeah. And and I do remember too, I sold a couple of those particular laptops, and the speed at which I can do eBay today just comes from a lot of ups and downs of the process. I even remember like just understanding how do I ship a product properly, because I remember putting a laptop in a shipping box and just using newspaper wrapping as the padding. And I remember getting an email back from the guy, "You shipped me that almost $1,000 product in newspaper wrapping. It could have been damaged and this and that." Luckily, he didn't ask for anything back or anything though, but he was very upset about that. And I learned my lesson that presentation of packaging matters from that point on, in terms of the customer knowing that you cared about their product just as much as the fact that they actually paid you for something that you had. So that was a very important lesson to me long ago, that put a little extra TLC in how I package products, letting people know that you care for the product as much as they care to pay you. And that has saved me in multiple ways. And I know this to be a fact because when I don't do that, if I get lazy once in a blue moon, it always comes back and be like, why is this packaged this way? And it's just like, oh, I slipped again though. So I've learned a lot of lessons in terms of people's perception, treating people as if you're treating yourself, in terms of like, just take care of them, and they'll take care of you though. So the ups and downs of eBay has definitely put me in a much better position to where doing eBay, I can do it like the back of my hand. And if there is something that any of us want to do just like that, like just like waking up and brushing our teeth, it's just, again, starting and understanding, the ups and downs, the flows, and eventually it becomes a thing, so it eventually becomes a thing for us to go to our job and make money. It can definitely be a thing where we wake up, get on top of our technology, and make money as well. The question is, will you just start, and will you persist?
Love it. Yeah, the persistence part is super important from that degree too, because you know I was reading I'm currently rereading Think and Grow Rich, which is just a,
Mhm.
it's a classic, and he's talking about the classic, Thomas Edison. 10,000 times he tried to make a light bulb and was unsuccessful. And it's just this level of commitment to success and being willing to fail and be willing to do it as many times as it takes to make it happen. I mean, he had the desire that it didn't matter how many times it took, he was just going to make it work. And, that's like what it takes for to be fully committed into, a goal.
Yeah, and I think about Bruce Lee, for example, in terms of, we live in an age of when we have access to so much information, which then kind of says there's so many different ways to do things. How do you make a choice on what do you make your thing? Thomas Edison is the light bulb, and he was willing to try that many times to get it to work. Bruce Lee, he chose one style and mastered that one style that, brought him so many opportunities. And it's the same thing. What is that one thing, which I believe is a book, One Thing, that we're passionate about? If we go back and look at, what do I enjoy? What am I good at? Less judgment and less comparison, and master that thing that brings us joy. There's so many doors that gets to open up in terms of that mastery of that thing we enjoy, bringing people to us though. But again, it does take a level of commitment, it does take a level of discipline. However, I truly do believe it's just like the one thing opens all the doors in so many ways, though, because if you're looking to do one thing, it will eventually bring you to another thing and another thing. Versus, I think the feeling today is, if I do one thing, I'll miss out on maybe doing this, I'll miss out on doing that. Versus the thinking of, if I do this one thing, it gives me the opportunity to then work on this thing and then see what I can do for this thing and then grow from there though. So I feel like we're in a day and age where we want all the things because we see all the possibilities, because of all of the access we have to technology, and just the simple thing of starting small with one thing that we truly enjoy, seeing that as the key to giving us what we want.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you're walking up the staircase, but you don't know that there's other staircases and doorways because you haven't taken enough steps in that direction, you know? And as you take those steps, new opportunities start to present itself and you start to figure out what you may or may not like, you know? Like and again, using the analogy of you through eBay, it's like, all right, well, you kind of got this taste of being able to make money for yourself in a different way. And that led
Mhm.
to other things, eventually becoming a life coach. But it's these different steps that create our story. And if you look back on how, selling a computer has nothing to do with life coaching, but again, it was still part of your journey to be able to get where you are today. And it's just such a cool process in understanding of like getting started, getting moving, figuring out what you do and don't like. And I love that you keep using the word like joy, just using things, doing things that bring you joy. I mean, life is short. And, when you truly do something that you love to do every single day, I mean, it really is an absolute game changer in just how you wake up every single day.
Yeah, and that is a piece right there. That is the work to get to that place to do what you want to do versus do what you have to do. There'll always be something that you have to do, but when it is in complement to what you get to do, it doesn't really become a bad thing. And I guess an analogy right there is just like, oh, I have to clean this bathroom. But if you have to clean a bathroom for a home that you own with no mortgage that is completely yours, and it's just like you get to own a home with no mortgage. So cleaning the bathroom really isn't that bad of a thing because you don't have any mortgage or anything like that. You don't have to pay anything extra. Like you have a roof over your head, you have security even during the times that we are living now, that a lot of other people could be struggling though. So it's just like you get to live mortgage free because you've done the work, so cleaning the bathroom might not be as bad as you think, so it's the same thing though. What is something, that you can have joy in, so much that the things that you have to do in complement to that, you know, doesn't phase you as much because when there isn't any joy, it all becomes have to, and everything that's a have to is what we're going to resist. I know that for a fact. It's just like, "Oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So what do I want to do? And that's part of the process too, in terms of like taking action and seeing like, did you enjoy that? So for my example, when it comes to life coaching, I enjoy the group dynamics. I've always been a team person, seeing a group of people, have aha moments, go through exercise, social learning, things of that nature, collaboration, networking though. So I love facilitating, the support of multiple people, and but in the life coaching world, they'll tell you, or in coaching in general, you have to start off with one-on-one. And it's just like, do I? Because I enjoy the group dynamic so much though. So like my focus is more on the group, which then allows me to take on higher caliber one-on-one of people who light me up versus, well, you have to take one-on-one coaching because that's just the way it is. And I even think for like our mentor, like James Wedmore, he started out with group coaching before doing one-on-one. I think he's on one-on-one though, but he's more into the group dynamics more than anything though. So it really does help to know that there is no right or wrong. Uh, rather, what is it you enjoy, and make that the thing that other can see the joy in you doing.
Awesome. Yeah. One thing I thought that was super interesting too that you were talking about in regards to cleaning the bathroom even though that's something that you don't necessarily enjoy, you have a choice to see the joy in it, in the fact
Mhm.
that how fortunate you are to even have that bathroom, and therefore you can find even joy in these things that you have to do. And I think that is extremely powerful, because there's always going to be things in life that you kind of have to do that maybe aren't the most amazing things, but you have a choice in how you want to see it, as a burden, or oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to do this. And you can see it as, wow, I get to do this. This is a privilege for me to even have a bathroom to be able to clean.
Yeah, and I think that is, that's actually a way of sabotaging gratitude, though, when you look at the things and you feel like this is not something I enjoy. And the question is, why don't you enjoy it though? And probably more than likely, you're thinking about something, that you would rather be doing in the future, or you're thinking about a past situation in terms of like it took longer than you expected. More than likely, it is because you are not in the present moment. So, like I said, though, in the past, it took too long. So you're thinking about like in the past, it took an hour to get it done. I don't want to spend an hour, or there's somewhere I need to be. So the past and the future are taking you out of the present moment, which is making it, I have to get this done. Versus if you let go of what happened in the past, if you stop worrying about like what gets to happen in the future, you know, there's the satisfaction of like once you're done in the present moment, you get the satisfaction of a clean bathroom, and I'm sure most people love walking back and coming to a home or a place of residence in terms of just like looking clean, fresh, smelling nice, all of those things, and knowing that your own two hands created that. That's just being present to your work versus worried about past or the future though. So, you know, even in the small lesson of cleaning the bathroom though, being present to the joy of what you can do and what gets to happen afterwards. Yeah, though. So, and self-sabotage right there. If you're going to complain about cleaning the bathroom in a place that you own, what else are you complaining about that is overshadowing the opportunity to be grateful about things though? So I always ask myself this question too, is like it's very easy to take for granted the life that we've been given despite the challenges that we're having though. But I do my best to look for gratitude, which then gives me energy to get into the work, to do what I want to do though. So gratitude truly is important for me, because it makes me not underestimate, where I am at, because it could be worse. It could
Yeah.
be a whole lot worse. Gratitude helps me to understand that it could be worse. So I get to appreciate where I am at right now. I may not be where I want to be, but where I am at, if I look back, is because I appreciated what I could do that stacked up to this current moment. And how dare I complain about my current moment, knowing that the work I put in is what got me here, that could be a whole lot worse. An appreciation of that process can get me even further, but I self sabotage myself by complaining about what I'm doing.
Yeah, amazing. And I want to come back to the gratitude, because I have some follow-up questions on that, but I wanted to
Mhm.
bring attention to something that I thought was extremely beautiful visual metaphor that you mentioned in talking about coming home to your house and seeing the clean work, and the house, the clean house that you have because of the work that you did. And I think that there's a beautiful metaphor there in taking the time to look at the life that you've created every single day, and having that same feeling where you're looking and you're like, wow, look how amazing this is from the work that I've done. I put in the work, and I've been able to create this life for myself, and taking that time to reflect on it. Sometimes it's easier to see the clean house than it is to reflect on our life as a whole and in general, and just really taking that time to see that and visualize that and see the growth and development that you've done, over the last years, of your life, and take a moment to just reflect on that.
Yeah, and that right there would be key. Taking a moment. I don't think we do that enough. I know for myself, I meditate every day. I can humbly brag that since January 6th, 2020, I have meditated every single day for 30 minutes in the morning, and it's been a process to get to that point, but it is now where my morning cannot start without 30 minutes of meditation. Even if I have a flight to go somewhere, like 5 o'clock in the morning, which means I have to be at the airport, I will get up purposely to ensure that that part of my morning gets done before I do anything else outside of my room, though. So the point of people taking a moment to slow down, like even I didn't have that concept until the past couple of years, to just slow down and reflect. And it's so easy to miss gratitude because we think we have to do so many things. Even in 9 to 5 world, people going 9 to 5, bringing their work home, working from 5 to 9 with their work, and not even taking an opportunity to slow down, reflect, ask themselves the question, what's important to me? Like, is this what I want to do? What do I want to appreciate? That slow down to kind of to speed up. Like, okay, I want to slow down so I can speed up in a different direction. That really is, I mean, it's a course correction. How do you course correct and everything? You slow down and then you take that curve, because if you try to take that curve, like, just on our automatic every day, you're going to spit out and everything. It's like, just every day and you want to make a course correction, you're going to spit out. But when you slow down and you see, like, oh, there's another path available for me to take, that's what happened in that slowdown. That's what happens in that reflection. That's what happens in that gratitude moment, in terms of making new choices to get to a place of like, this is what I get to do, versus have to do. And this is actually how I get to create life on my terms, is truly in that those moments of slowing down, reflecting, and making choices in that space versus making choices always on the go, always under pressure, always under stress, always because we're in reaction to what needs to be done versus into response of what comes to us in those moments of slowing down.
Amazing. Yeah, extremely well said. And you mentioned you have a meditation practice every day, and it's a non-negotiable, which I love. I've incorporated that into my habits as well, where it's like, hey, it doesn't matter what's happening, I'm going to meditate. For me, it's reading. I've made that like an absolute must, that I am reading every single day. And one thing I wanted to ask about and kind of touch on the gratitude aspect in regards to the meditation as well is, do you have a specific gratitude practice that you do daily?
I have one now, but it was a journey in terms of finding what that looks like, though. So I don't do guided meditations because I just like listening. I'm a big sounds person, though. So I went through a lot of different. I started with Brendan Burchard. He has a YouTube video in terms of meditation, and it's just listening to like a little bit of sound or a little bit of his voice, and then it goes mostly into sound. And then I started looking at like frequency hertz music, and eventually just ended up listening to a particular sound that I have right now, that I just go to that and listen to 30 minutes of the sound. And the way that I work with my meditation is I don't worry about like the thoughts that come up. I think a lot of people will tell you meditation's about, stopping the chatter. No, but I think the more you meditate, the more the chatter actually just slows down with the meditation. Because I remember when I first started, I did 5 minutes And my mind was going crazy, like, I can't sit still for 5 minutes. Like, what is this all about? Like, no, no. Like, it was pure resistance, but worked up to 5 minutes, got to 15 minutes. Max has been like 45 minutes of meditation, and a half hour now just seems easy. So it's just listening to sound because I'm big on sound, and just allowing the mind to kind of like move with the sound, with breathing. And after a year of doing this daily, I find myself being able to kind of get into a particular story or scenario, and the mind just latches onto one thing and plays it out versus going through a lot of random thoughts. It's not a lot of random thoughts I go through in meditation. I might pick a scenario and it's almost like lucid dreaming in terms of just like something playing out in that space, which is why 30 minutes doesn't seem like enough, because once the mind latches on in terms of this lucid dreaming state in meditation, and you might be playing out something, um, it's very tranquil, it's very peaceful. And then like when my alarm goes off, it's like, that was 30 minutes already? Like I need to do it longer because I get into that state though. So it's been a journey to get to that place of practice, to slow down and allow myself to have like a waking dream of sorts. And but it's worth it in terms of, like I said, there's a reason why I make it a non-negotiable, as you said, because if anything goes wrong, like with my day in terms of like it just didn't go the way I expected it, at least I know I had those 30 minutes in the morning that I gave to myself.
Love it. Yes. So well said. So important. You're inspiring me to get I have been slacking on my meditation and I want to get back into it. So you've inspired me, and this conversation has been so awesome. I mean, you shared your journey from getting started, being in that 9 to 5, stepping into the entrepreneur role. We talked about Tony Robbins and how, people didn't even show up to his stuff, and just like the importance of getting started and taking that leap. And then how, having the confidence and figuring out your own confidence by just taking that chance. And the more that you succeed and get through that process, the more confident that you're going to get. And that no isn't a reflection of your value. It's just, it's the process of, hey, they're not ready for you right now. Like, I love that example that you used. You talked about like identity and how important that is, and expanding yourself. We're not shifting and changing our identity, we're just expanding into ourself. And we do that through less judgment, less comparison, and appreciation for what you enjoy. And I love that. I'm going to say that again too, because I think, it cannot be said enough. But less judgment, less comparison, and appreciation for what you enjoy. I mean, such a powerful, rules to live by in thinking about. Imagine how much more we can show up when we continue to do that. And then I love the Aristotle quote that you shared. Pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. And just the more that you can follow what it is that makes you happy, that was the theme of like really doing the things that you enjoy, is going to bring about the best in you so that you can truly succeed in everything that you do and be happy with what you do when you come from that place of joy, and finding that joy, and knowing that the more that you try different things, you're going to figure out what's going to work best for you. And really just taking the time to be present and have gratitude and slow things down is going to help you to find the appropriate path. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, not a problem though. So hopefully there are some plenty of nuggets for people to pull from this show. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I leave people with this: just look for acceptance for who you are. That's it. If there's one major theme to take away from anything that I've shared here, look for acceptance, because in acceptance, self love grows. In acceptance, um, just, what other people say matters less. There is so much power in acceptance that offers you the opportunity to explore freedom of what life gets to look like, though. So that's my own journey right now. And that is my invitation to anyone listening to these words right now. Do your own work in terms of accepting the full expansion of yourself and watch as freedom follows along with that.
Wow. Great, great closing. I love that. The last thing, what's the best way for somebody to get in touch with you, reach out to you, follow you?
Yeah, right now the best way to get in touch with me is probably on my Instagram account though. So Kevin Laylor, Laylor though. So I'm going to be putting more content on there. Outside of that, you can find me on Facebook as well. Do a search for Kevin Laylor. Find me there. Currently working on a rebrand for the website though. So right now, IG and Facebook. And if anyone has any questions or any thoughts or just question like anything in terms of life, questions, perspective, insights, I'm more than happy to help because again, from my days of photography to now being a life coach, I really want people to see the best in themselves.
Amazing. Perfect. Well said. Thank you so much for your time. Listeners, thank you so much for being here. And remember, let's keep growing together. Wait, one more thing. I would first like to say thank you. Thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this message, please take a moment to write a review. By writing a review, it helps people find this message and helps me help more people. And if you really, really liked it and you think this message could help someone else, take a screenshot, share it on Instagram, and please tag me at Nick J. Boni, NickJBoni, so I can show my appreciation for you. We can all win by helping each other grow. Thank you. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.